Hello, everyone. Welcome back to live coverage of Eternal Weekend North America. My name is Ronnie, joining you for the first time today, and it's my great pleasure to introduce a scion of legacy. He knows his eggs. He's going to be carrying this broadcast on his broad, wide, strong shoulders. It's Noah Walker, everyone. Noah, good to have you along as well today, mate.
Oh, what's up, Riley? I'm couldn't be happier to be here and enjoy some sweet matches of Legacy with all of you.
Yeah, that's it. We don't get to see this format showcased on the big screen too often, so it is a real treat for everyone around the world to be enjoying one of Magic's oldest formats. All the boomers out there
Oh yeah,
gleefully rubbing their hands together. They can't wait. Well,
paper
I wouldn't
boomers.
say you're a boomer. How old are you? Like 14, 15 years old now?
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
For 13 years now. Yeah.
We're gonna have some fun today, my friends. But let's remind ourselves of what's at stake throughout this weekend. We've got some information to get across here before we get stuck into these games here. First and foremost, Noah, got a lot of money on the line this weekend. Look at that.
I
Our
mean,
payout
yeah.
we got four-figure payouts all the way to eighth position, and then the payout down to 128th as well. $125 in the back pocket of anyone who snags a top finish there. But I mean, the real prizes. Look at those cards, Noah.
I mean, the lightning bolt painting. I'm not gonna lie, I would love
Mhm.
me something like that. It's probably the card that's won me more games than anything else. You know what finishes off an opponent better than a lightning bolt? So that's a really nice thing to win for first place here. That is going to be a very cherished one.
For sure. And then we've got Dragon's Rage Channel, a card I want to speak to you about as we jump into this round here, Noah, because we're going to be seeing this card, I imagine, before very much longer. But look at that, 4 grand for first, and also 4 grand for second. But it's only the first place player, who's getting that big lightning bolt. So more on the top eight, of course, tomorrow. We'll get stuck into that. As you can see, we've got our Legacy Champs top eight coming your way tomorrow. So stick around for that, of course. But today we're getting stuck into day one of the Swiss Legacy Champs. Noah and I will be holding your hand through the rest of the rounds. And as you can see, pretty standard tournament setup here. Swiss rounds into a top eight single elimination playoff. No, this is something that anyone who's a fan of competitive Magic, no twists or turns here. This is pretty ordinary tournament setup here.
Yeah, I mean, a nice 9 rounds on day one, finish off the Swiss on the day two, and then a nice top eight cutoff. Pretty standard. They get to play a lot of rounds of Legacy though. 14 rounds over 2 days. That's a you love to see that.
You do love to see that, and that's why you're here with us today. It's our great pleasure to be bringing you this broadcast, of course, powered by Card Titan. You can use code Eternal Weekend 2023, no spaces, 10% off your order at cardtitan.com. A great time to pick up the cards that you've been after. This stream also supported by Game Genie. You can use the same code Eternal Weekend 2023 for 10% off your Game Genic, I should say. 10% off your order there as well. Eternal Weekend 2023. And a big shout out to our sponsors supporting one of the oldest and one of the most beloved forms of the game that, as we've said, no, it doesn't get the time it deserves in the spotlight.
I mean, that's so true. Legacy is definitely my favorite constructed format, and I'm just so happy to share my love for Legacy with everybody and be able to watch some sick matches here.
All right, well, let's get into it here. We've got our players. These, I believe, are at the moment first and second. No, not quite. Second and fourth in our standings here. So both these players doing very well at 5-0. That's exactly where you want to be at this position. Got Jay on Grixis Delver and John on Goblins. Now, we're going to have a long chat about the Goblins deck, I imagine, but no, I just want to bring up to you, both of us are clearly Magic boomers here. What a sad state of affairs it is that Grixis Delver is only running 2 copies of Delver of Secrets. What has the
I
world become?
I just think it's the disrespect people have nowadays. We get some new toys like
Mm.
Dragon's Rage Chandler, and everyone just thinks, oh, I can cut whatever I want from my deck. There's broken cards in Legacy. I got Orcish Bowmasters, but yeah, I mean, it is wild, for me to see these lists with less than 4 Delvers still doing so well. That I think that just showcases the power of this Grixis Delver archetype. You can really build your deck kind of however fits best for you, and kind of play around that. So.
So what we're seeing in this Grixis Delver list here is 4 copies of Dragon Rage Channeler, 4 copies of Orcish Bowmaster, 3 Murktide Regent, and only 2 Delver. The Delver is currently going through now what Nimble Mongoose went through 10 years ago.
Exactly. Being excluded by its buddies, just like, yeah,
Yeah,
like you can come play around like a little bit, but we don't need you like we did. But
getting the pity invites. Yeah.
exactly. But I mean, the you know you don't hate to see it. People have kind of decided, hey, I like some of these other options a little bit more, and I can understand it. I think personally, I would try to stick to as many Delvers as I can because
Mhm.
we're kind of connected like that, me and Delver.
Yeah.
But I could see it for other people. But really, what I want to talk about is kind of how different these Goblins builds are. A lot of what you would be used to for a Goblins deck is like some turn one Aether Vial stuff, a lot of
Mhm.
playing around with Wastelands, kind of a mana denial strategy. This build is really, really focused on the Mind Goblin and uh, getting a really quick Muxus out there, and just kind of abusing the power of the City of Traders, Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, just going for really, really fast mana and then turboing out a Muxus, as
Well,
opposed
we
to no, go ahead.
Well, we better talk about it because yeah, that was the card that was picked up by the Goblin Matron there. It is the Blank Goblin, often affectionately referred to as the Mind Goblin, as Noah pointed out. I don't know where that comes from though. Mind Goblin. That's a strange. I've got no idea what the background is to that. Anyway, Mind Goblin is a card that when it's played, it's a 3-mana 2/2. When it plays, you can put a sticker, a name sticker on it. This is from the last unset, and then you gain mana equal to the number of vowels, including the letter Y, on the sticker that you put on the card, right? So stickers are super weird. We don't often see them in constructed magic, but here, what it essentially means is if John can find from his semi-randomized 10-pack of stickers, each of which has 3 name stickers on it, so he's got 9 stickers from which to choose from. He wants to find something like misunderstood, or he wants to find unsanctioned, or contortionist, or homunculus, shenanigans. These are the stickers that have a lot of vowels on them, Noah. Stick
This
that in
is
the Mind
awesome.
Goblin, and all
That
of a
has to be one
sudden
of
you
the
go,
coolest cards ever.
it's certainly not something that I anticipated having to talk about a fiercely competitive game of constructed magic. Didn't think the sticker mechanic would make it all the way to the top, but here we are. And we're going to see Mind Goblin here come down thanks to the Simian Spirit Guide. And so if this resolves, John's going to be reaching for his sticker packs.
Wow, I've been waiting for this moment for a long
Yeah.
time. I don't know about you, but I
Yeah.
certainly have been. It's time for the sticker packs.
Time for the stickers. And you can see, oh, is it actually? No, we got the lightning bolt in
It
response to
still
it. So does it
triggers
even,
though, right?
it still triggers, right? You still
Yeah.
get a sticker?
Oh,
Maybe in,
if you kill
because
it.
you, oh, right. Because
Oh, the
the
trigger.
object isn't on the battlefield when the trigger resolves, there's nothing to put a sticker onto. You can't put a sticker on your playmat. I guess you can.
Oh,
Doesn't do anything.
true, man.
Right.
The lightning bolt just thwarting John's efforts right
Yeah.
then and there.
Yeah. So that this is a downside of it, right? Because there are some I'm trying to think like Burning Tree Emissary, for example. You play Burning Tree Emissary, you get the 2 mana, even if they bolt it in response. This is not the case with Mind Goblin. If they bolt it in response, you get nothing. Good day, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you're, playing a deck with these copies of City of Traders, like it's a real trade-off to
Mm.
get your Mind Goblin lightning bolted there, right? Like John is feeling the pressure. He had to play a mountain and sacrifice his City of Traders after just a couple of uses. So
Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, Noah, but if the Mind Goblin had resolved, if John had put on a 5 vowel word,
oh
that's
yeah.
5 mana in the pool from the Mind Goblin, or from
Hmm.
the P-Brain Goblin, I guess as it would be then. And then he plays the Mountain, and then that's 6 mana for Muxus, right? On turn 2.
Exactly.
Right.
I'll do you one better, Riley. John
Go on.
has Cavern of Souls in his hand. He was going to play Cavern on Goblin and then try to resolve the Muxus uncounterable. So if
Oh,
this Mind Goblin triggers, it's just you know basically game over for Jay at that point. It's
yeah.
not very easy to beat the Muxus alone from the trigger. So
No, for sure. And that sort of showcases that gives us a good example of why this Mind Goblin is in the Goblin's deck, right? It's not just a dumb gimmick. Like that is a crazily powerful play. But luckily for Jay, the Lightning Bolt forestalling that disaster situation of an uncounterable turn 2 Muxus.
yeah, Jay doing a really good job at stopping John from setting up pretty much anything this game. Just sitting with the matron in play. So we'll see what John can get together.
All right, so a daze here. They
This
always
looks
have
like
it,
a
man.
Broad City Bombardiers. Oh wow, that we've got a reader over here. I honestly don't even know. I'm gonna have to
Oh,
read this card with y'all.
broadside
Menace,
bombardiers. Yeah. So as
yeah.
you can see, there another three mana goblin classic menace haste, and when after it attacks, you can boast sacrifice another creature artifact, and it deals damage equal to 2 plus the sacrifice permanent's mana value. It's a good way to get some extra value out of something like a Goblin Matron, which now is just sitting there as a 3 mana 1/1, not doing a whole lot.
If the Bombardiers had resolved, John would have been able to fling this matron over at the uh, Dragon's Rage Channeler, and that would have stopped
Mhm.
a lot of the pressure that he's receiving this game. So it looks like Jay is kind of easily coasting here. He's got a Force of Will, got some cantrips. It's going to take a lot for John to be able to come back here. You know, we're going to need to see like another name sticker goblin, as well as hitting a 6+ for this Muxus. And
Mhm.
I don't know if John can get that together, as well as be able to have this cavern on goblin and resolve the Muxus through the Force of Will. So
Yeah, there's a lot of asks, a lot of hoops to jump through here. Jay's going to play another DRC, so double the pressure. But this is what the Delver deck wants to do, Noah, right? This is Delver through and through. Even though they're not Delvers of Secrets that are getting in, this is exactly how this deck wants to play. Commit an early threat to the board, and then back it up with really, really efficient disruption, days, force of will, free counter magic, efficient removal, while the life total of the opponent is just slowly but steadily chipped away.
I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself, Riley. There's no coincidence that this Delver deck has been, the boogeyman of Legacy for as long as it has been, with
Hmm.
so many differing builds. It's just a tried and true strategy that is so effective to be able to control, your opponent's board, to be able to control their mana, to be able to control their spells while applying pressure with these cheap creatures is just so powerful. But we
I
might be seeing
enjoyed.
it.
Oh, here we go.
He
Okay, so
managed.
Chrome Mox into all right, Chrome Mox into Mind Goblin. And is this one going to resolve? Is this trigger going to resolve here? This is counterable, right? It wasn't you. The Cavern of Souls wasn't used for it.
Okay, another lightning bolt
No,
just
lightning
to
bolt. All right,
finish him
well,
off.
see you later, alligator. Unfortunately, the Mind Goblin doesn't get to gobble too much this time around, but there's always game two as the players hit their sideboards. I wanted to mention, obviously, we had a recent banned and restricted announcement, and there was something in that when I was reading about Legacy that I appreciated sort of being acknowledged by Wizards. The fact that there's a sort of explicit acknowledgement that Legacy um, has almost like a philosophical approach to the ban list, the way that they handle that, because they know that people play Legacy, so they can resolve Brainstorm and Force of Will, and there's a sort of level of recognition that cards that are probably too good for the format, they're not being pushed out by bans because this is what people come to Legacy for, right? Is to resolve these cards, to have fun with old favorites from years and years ago. And Delver's sort of a product of that, right? Delver is a classic archetype that I don't know. Do you think it's not too good, I guess, for Legacy, but it is at least meta defining, right?
Yeah, I mean, the format kind of has been really warped by the presence of these Delver decks, whether it
Hmm.
be Teamer Delver, Grixis Delver, Blue Red Delver, for so many years now. So I think it's much less about what are we going to ban from a Delver deck to make it worse. Sometimes that is the case because just for format diversity's sake, it's like there's too much of this specific card, so like they'll get rid
Hmm.
of it. Like Expressive Iteration, for example,
Hmm.
those cards were just a little bit too potent and kind of changed the ways that you could be building the decks. But I do think that Wizards brings up a great point. It's like if we're just making our bans in Legacy based off power level, I think there's just so many cards that have to go.
Mm.
And I don't think that's what they want necessarily as much as like you know what's always been really important for me about Legacy is just being able to show up to a tournament with a deck that you've worked on a while, maybe with a few new tweaks from newer cards. But
Mhm.
like you've just been working on your deck for so long, you love it. You add a couple cards, and it's just competitive. So that's what we're seeing right now with this Goblins deck. The way that, as we were saying, the Delver decks have looked so different over time. This Delver deck looks pretty different, and it's still doing so well. So I just think that it's more important to have diversity in the format and there to be a lot of different decks that are playable than for it to be exactly balanced and have
Mm.
the best cards per se banned.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think it's a really important way to recognize the role that Legacy plays. It's not this ruthlessly optimized format that is, solely focused on fair and balanced constructed games of Magic. It's not designed to be a perfect metagame. It's a format where people can resolve brainstorm, man.
Ex-
That is gonna necessarily change a lot of things. And Force of
Exactly.
Will, another classic card from Legacy here, is taking out. Was that a turn one Rabble Master there?
Yeah, it looks like Jay doesn't have a bolt in his hand or any sort of interaction for John's Rabble Master, so he decided, hey, I gotta force this. It's gonna get out of
Mhm.
hand too quickly. I'll probably be dead in like 3 turns. So
Also, in doing so, exiling a card that costs 10,000 mana in this format.
oh
A
yeah.
three drop. Forget about it. In Legacy. Well,
Yeah, I
speaking of
mean,
three drops, here is the second three drop that's been cast by John this turn, but it's different. This is the City of Traders deck, and this one's going to get counted as well. All right, so we're not having the Bombardiers resolve this time either.
yeah, huge pickup for Jay in that Hydro Blast. Just having these 1 mana, you know, ways to interact with what John is doing is so huge. And as we see again, this game, John had to go turn 1 City of Traders, use it 2 times, and then
Mhm.
sacrifice it. So Jay's already kind of getting some value there. If he can withstand a lot of John's threats this game, it could end up a lot like last game.
Well, Battlecry Goblin is going to resolve this time around as we see Lorien reveal an island for Jay. It's another relatively new piece of technology that's been picked up across multiple formats, modern and legacy. Lorien revealed a sort of stand-in island that sometimes you can play as a really, really, really bad Ancestral Recall.
Yeah,
And here's the threat now. We've had a pretty reactive game from Jay so far, Noah, but now there's a DRC.
exactly what Jay's looking for. Finally getting some pressure on the board. He can't give John forever. John could just start playing lands, resolving all these goblins through
Hmm.
the caverns. So really important for Jay and this Delver deck to start getting going somewhere.
That's right, and this is something that we talk about when trying to characterize a tempo deck, right? A tempo deck needs two elements. It needs pressure and it needs disruption. And without both those elements, it's not actually going to do what it wants to do. If it has disruption but no pressure, the opponent can just keep deploying threats until they run out of answers. And if it has threats but no disruption, they're probably going to get overrun because their threats, while efficient, aren't anywhere near as powerful as some of the stuff that you need to keep off the table with that disruption.
Yeah, you got it. I mean, you have there has to be a balance, like a lot of things. These Delver decks really have to focus on. Am I controlling the board? Do I
Mhm.
have some pressure in play? Is my hand stacked up enough for me to answer some things in the future? There's so many moving pieces when it comes to these tempo decks.
Petty Theft sends the Battlecry Goblin back upstairs here for Jay. It'll go into the exile zone on an adventure. And we're going to see that's a Ponder, right?
Yeah, it looks like he went Ponder, kept on top with the DRC trigger, and now we're
Hmm.
resolving the Ponder.
Oh, we're being told that is the top 8 Ponder from last year.
A
So
little light flex. Jay's like, yeah,
Jay's
no big
obviously got the
deal.
chops here.
I've been playing this Grixis Delver deck for a while now. Just figured I'd bring it
Yeah.
out, show you guys a little something.
I will be honest, I did not recognize the card by its art, unsurprisingly, and so I was waiting to see what mechanics went through, what mechanics Jay went through before identifying the card, and I saw that he looked at the top card of his library, like, okay, is it like a Scry 1? Is he playing Consider?
Yeah, we got
Surely
we got
not,
we got
like,
considered. No, it's just the flex art.
yeah,
We came the game. J50 up
yeah,
a game. Just
yeah,
flex art ponder.
yeah,
Okay, lights
letting
out.
letting people know what's up, for
Lights
sure,
out.
yeah. Alright, so the Ponder resolves, and, on the other side of things, Barber, John here, he is, sitting on, I think, what is that, like 2 cards, 3 cards in hand?
Yeah, looks like we've got. I
Steadily falling
see
behind.
a name sticker. No, wait, is that it? No, 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 no. It's just what Battlecry Goblin and the Bombardiers that he fetched up, and then
Mhm.
a card from the sideboard that's actually a huge one in this matchup in Pyrokinesis. So he can kind of, especially while there's still a 1/1 uh, Dragon's Rage Channeler in play, he could
Mhm.
just finish off like that, as well as another creature if Jay commits more to the board, like say uh, this guy on an adventure. So
And you would really want to get some value out of that. Pyrokinesis is a 6-drop, but you can
yeah,
cast it with the rules similar to Force of Will. Exile a red card. You don't have to pay the life. But yeah, here we go. This is not going to. I don't think this is going to be targetable by the pyrokinesis. Only
might be a
4
little too
damage.
thick. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's way too thick.
yeah. Got a real dumper on it there. It's got a
Yeah,
luscious dumper. This
yeah.
this Murktide Regent.
I mean, and this is why, Riley, we're seeing, some of these Delver decks saying like, "Hey, I can cut a couple copies of Delver from my deck." Delver is not a too flexible card. If I draw it later in the game, it's not going
Mm.
to do so much on the board. We see Murktide Regent, we see Brazen Borrower. There's so many options for threats nowadays.
It is sad though.
It
R.I.P.
it's
Rip to
it's
a
sad.
real one with Delver's
Hey,
Secrets.
I mean, Theo's list is still playing four. I think Theo is a very smart player. So I think there's still hope yet. Let's just say.
All right. Well, I hope we don't say goodbye to our little insecty boy just yet. All right.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at what's going on the other side of the battlefield. We've got the Battlecry Goblin redeployed along with the Broadside Bombardiers, and in comes the squad here. I don't think that Simian Spirit Guard is attacking. I think it's off in the exile zone, deceptively placed there. And a little 1/1 Goblin generated by Battlecry Goblin, thanks to its Pack Tactics ability.
So it looks like with the Bombardiers, he's deciding on what to boast here.
Mm.
Uh,
Now you can boast before, like you can boast as soon as you've attacked, right? You don't have to wait until after combat.
yeah, I think so.
I'm pretty sure that's the case.
So what I'm surprised to see is him not decide to finish off this Dragon's Rage Chandler, because if Jay really wants to, he could double block the Bombardiers, get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It does have menace, yep.
and also it might be a little bit too tough to actually finish off the Murktide, especially because I think the only card left in his hand is that Pyrokinesis, and he doesn't have another red card to sack to it. So, oh, he stifles the trigger when he tries to boast.
Oh, yuck. All right, so that's pretty gross here as the Bombardier sacrifices the Goblin Matron to go after the Murktide Regent, but a Stifle counters that trigger, or that ability, I should say.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
so
really,
now we have, oh, no, we just have John's board being torn apart here.
really tight play there from Jay. I think kind of realizing like, hey, like John has the opportunity to use this boast. It looked like he even had a lightning bolt in his hand and just decided I don't need this bolt. Like I'm gonna
Mm.
stifle, kind of blow out John for this turn, uh, recuperate everything next turn. So really looking tough here. If you're John with this Goblins deck, he's gonna need some serious spice soon to keep up.
Yeah. Yeah, at this stage, you sort of start to think now the Delver deck is just reloaded with a Brainstorm. They've got 2 really good threats on the battlefield, although the DRC is only a 1/1, I guess, and will be for a while. With just, I think, only instance in the bin at the moment. Is that right? I think it's
I,
the Brainstorm, the Stifle, and was there a fetch land or something in there?
a little hard to see. There is something under the
Something under the
brainstorm. I'm
Brainstorm.
not sure.
Mm. All right, well, more news as it comes to hand. In comes the Murktide Regent. 7 damage in the air.
Just classic Delver deck doing Delver deck stuff, putting on
Mm-hmm.
a lot of pressure with the big flyer, controlling the board with some removal spells.
Yep, and Lightning Bolt is just one of the best cards to have in this situation. There aren't very many cards in John's deck that don't die to a Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, Lightning Bolt, quite the card.
Uh-huh. All right. Bombardiers come in once again. This token that's a remnant of that Battlecry Goblin that died last turn. And Jay's like, yeah, give it to me. Give me it. Those life totals not updated just yet. And we're going to see the DRC go down the token sacrifice to deal 2 damage to it.
Okay, I see what Jay is doing here. So for a second, I was kind of questioning, how this game was playing out like this. Um, Jay has a lightning bolt, kind of just allowing John to attack with the bombardiers, sacrifice the token, get some value. Jay
Mhm.
is just mostly concerned about namesticker goblin, and he knows that lightning bolt is a really good answer to it possibly resolving it. And he said, "Look, I have a 3-turn clock here with my Murktide.
Mhm.
I'm just going to save this lightning bolt in case of a worst case scenario like Muxus coming out of nowhere and killing me." So I think that's really, really heads up play there from Jay. A lot of people might have, just used like I might have even thought to use the lightning bolt just to kill the bombardiers, to be completely honest with you. But I think he's really identified what's important
Mhm.
in this specific game, and it's nice to see.
Yeah, played around it masterfully here. John forced to use the pyrokinesis to kill a 1 toughness creature, 2 for wanting himself to get rid of half of a card there, so that's really not where you want to be. But otherwise, he was going to die this turn, right? He was just going to stone die to the attack plus the lightning bolt. So trying to buy himself a little more time here. And for 2 mana, we have, what is this card?
Is
What
this
is
Thorn of
this ancient
Amethyst,
card?
or what is this
I
art?
I think it is Thorn of. I think it's Thorn of Amethyst. I can't see any other 2-drop
Yeah, I think that's what comes in from his
artifacts.
board. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's a cool art one.
that is too little, too late.
Oh wow,
However,
the days make him pay. Bolt you, take two. Jeez,
that's
well played.
enough. All right. Well, Jay takes it out here with Grixis Delver. This deck still a potent force in the Legacy metagame,
Broken
and
deck.
sadly for a fan of Mind Goblins everywhere, gobbling no longer.
True, that's facts. Yes, R.I.P. to the Mind Goblin fans like me.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
just wanting to see some name stickers get added. But it's I could never root against a Grixis Delver player. Let's be honest. So good to see.
Well, the good news is John's still now here at 5-1, so I don't think it's the last we'll be seeing of him. But we move now over to our backup match. We've got Ryan Hayes, 4-color control, versus Jaron Havastro on Abzan Depth. Do you want to give us the quick elevator pitch for these two lists? Because this is some hot heat we're looking at here.
Yeah, I mean we've got some sweet decks to look at this round. Ryan playing, I'd say, looking a lot more like what you'd see of a typical of the 4-color control decks of this format. The only creatures being Uro and Orcish Bowmasters. Really taking advantage of Up the Beanstalk with 4 copies of Leyline Binding. And I guess they really don't feel like they need to do anything else in that, right? Like you got 4 Force of Will, you got 4 Leyline Binding. That's going to get you enough value from this Up the Beanstalk. So it's just your typical Bant-ish control deck, just splashing for Bowmasters. Um, on the other side, Abzan Depths, I feel like is one of the sleeper decks of Legacy and always has been. These green white X Depths decks. They're
Mhm.
super powerful, super potent decks. Really hinging off the back of Neither Reliquary. And Orcish Bowmaster is just another really, really good addition to this deck. So I think these are 2 decks that have been are highlighting the power of Bowmasters and Legacy, taking 2 strategies that have been around for a long time and just adapting slightly.
So the depth deck, for those who aren't necessarily super familiar with the legacy format, what is the way that a dark depths deck typically wins, or do they have multiple paths to victory?
Yeah, I would say, especially nowadays, they have multiple paths to victory between Elvish Reclaimer, Knight of the Reliquary Beats. But it's just, I'd say the best Mox Simon deck. Uh, maybe Lands is a better Mox Simon deck. I don't know. It's a really, really good Mox Simon deck though.
Mhm.
And you just try to play resolve an early Knight of the Reliquary. Sacrifice your lands, fetch up a Dark Depths, sacrifice another land, fetch up a Set Stage, make a nice 20/20, kill your opponent that way. Or you while you're doing that, you're building up your Knight of the Reliquaries to be really large. Elvish Reclaimer, another early game beater that you can play. So it kind of has a couple paths to victory. You can always cheese out your opponent with a 20/20 though.
Elvish Reclaimer got big. No, Mum says we've got Delver of Secrets at home energy. As a little 1-drop that tries to attack for 3. But yes, the classic depths combo win is of course a dark depths card with 10,000 ice counters on it. You then use Thespian Stage to copy the dark depths, which doesn't have any ice counters. The Thespian Stage won't, and so immediately you get that Marit Large, get large and in charge with her, and usually a flying indestructible 20/20 is enough to get you across the line. But hey, there's always Caracas.
Yeah, Caracas is a good answer. Of course, Ryan playing 4 Swords to Plowshares, so
Mhm.
and Leyline Binding. I really doubt that this particular matchup is going to come down to the 2020 mattering as much as can Jaren set up some good early game creature stuff. I see the one copy of Grist. That would be a really good one for him to fetch up with these Crimson Zeniths, seeing as how the only real answer to that one would be the Leyline Binding. He kind of has to get his advantage in a place other than creatures in a matchup like this, because of how many answers Ryan has.
Well, let's talk about what we're looking at in Ryan's list here. You characterize this by saying it's a Bant control deck splashing black for Orcish Bowmasters. What does a control deck even look like in a format like Legacy?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. It looks like you know Ryan has opted not to play any copies of Supreme Verdict, so it's he's playing a much more, I'd say, like standard, just brainstorm, Swords to Plowshares, Ponders, um, and then taking advantage of Up the Beanstalk, right? You resolve an Up the Beanstalk kind of early, you get some value off of it with a Leyline Binding, with a Force of Will that resolved, maybe even a Lorien Revealed, right? Like, I mean, that's maybe too much value, but it's just you got your removal spells with your Swords to Plowshares, your Prismatic Endings, your Leyline Bindings, and you try to take over the game eventually with an Uro. And it looks like he decided to play one copy of Fourth Earlingus as a win condition.
We're actually seeing a green card advantage engine being played by Jaren here, not by Ryan, as Sylvan Library hits the battlefield. This is a classic old card that is the source of a huge number of rules, headaches, issues, especially in a format with Brainstorm. We won't have to get into that particular tangle here, however, but a great way to make sure that you stay at parity, or at least try to keep up with some of those other card advantage engines. Although,
You do love to see
face
some
this
boomer
Leyline
cards.
Binding, maybe not.
Oh, the new, he was like, "Welcome to the new age. I got you with this."
Yeah,
You thought before your enchantments were safe, but now you just play.
yeah.
You just catching strays. Sylvan Library just got a stray from this Leyline Binding, because a lot of times you wouldn't have very great answers in the past to game one enchantments. There was Abrupt Decay, was played for a little bit, but Leyline Binding just answering so much, really, really not great for Sylvan Library.
No, for sure. We've seen just how good this card is across multiple formats, right? It's played in Standard, it's played in Pioneer, it's played in Modern, it's even played in Legacy. Leyline Binding is really, really good. And the fact that it triggers cards like Up the Beanstalk when you can cast it for, 1, 2, maybe 3 mana, only makes it all the better. And here is the card we've been talking about. Time for some beans.
Yeah, I mean, this matchup is just looking so tough for the Abzan Depths deck, unless Jaren is able to get something really, really good going, like, crop rotation for a 2020 here, and then it looks like he has a crop rotation.
Yeah.
So if Ryan has nothing, right, like, we could see this 2020 taking over the game. The problem is he's playing a deck with 4 Swords to Plowshares. He's at more than 20 life right now, so it's not even a lethal attack.
Yeah, it's like a take you for two. It's like, oh yeah, take it. No blocks. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Like
good.
you
Yeah.
could take a little time, get some value out here with this Up the Beanstalk. He just doesn't have too much to worry about if you're Ryan.
Now, Merit Lodge doesn't have haste, right? So she's not getting in straight away.
Well, but luckily Jaren's doing it on the end step, so on the following turn
Oh,
he
of
would be able to
course.
attack.
Sorry. Yes. So it has sort of like pseudo haste. Well, it has pseudo nothing. It has pseudo being exiled by Leyline Binding here.
By the way, draw a card, because who cares? Yeah,
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah. You've just spent all that work setting up this combo. I'm going to cast a card for 0 mana, basically. Draw a card, get rid of your threat. Yeah. So, how you like me now? We're going to see Swords to Plowshares from Jaren. Is that exiling the Uro so it can't be brought back?
Yeah, with the trigger on the stack,
Yeah.
he decided to plow, which I actually really like. That's a heads up play. Doesn't want the Ryan to be able to get value again from the Uro. So that's good. But I mean, he's this game is all but over if you're Jaren, right? Like, he's kind of sitting there, no pressure, playing against a control deck on 35 life and 2 up the Beanstalks in play. It's like,
Yeah.
kind of,
Ryan Hayes is about to draw and play Lorien Revealed for its full value and draw 5 cards. That's what's happening.
my,
That's what's
oh
happening. Let's go.
no.
Give it to us. Give the people what they want,
Basic
Ryan.
planes. Look at this mana base. This is just a beautiful deck. Legacy is a beautiful format.
Oh, for 6 mana, no, we're actually seeing 4th Eorlingus here. Create a bunch of knights, become the monarch.
Yeah, make 4 2/2s, give them haste, draw 2 cards. I'm the monarch. Take 8. I'm at 38. I have like 30 cards in hand. Yep.
Yeah,
bad.
and you draw 1 card.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Oh boy, look at that. So 4th Eorlingus takes it out. The Riders of Rohan securing the dub here for Ryan Hayes. These players are going to hit their sideboards, and there are a couple of cards I want to talk about, particularly coming in from the Abzan Depths player here. I can see in the board here, I'm looking at the list now, I can see cards like Thoughtseize. I can see cards like Force of Vigor. What are some of the cards that you're looking at in the sideboard that Jaren's got that are actually going to make a difference, right? Force of Vigor, is that even a consideration, considering that it can blow up those the bindings?
Yeah, Riley, I think that's a really heads up one to say. Force of Vigor, I think will definitely come in. You could possibly kill a binding plus a beanstalk. So I think if Ryan just had one or the other, the Force of Vigor wouldn't be necessarily worth it, but we'll definitely see those. Endurance, another good one to kind of just remove the threat of Uro as much.
Yep.
Thoughtseize is kind of a close one for me in this matchup. I think it's really powerful if you're Jaren, and also it's just hard to fit all of these cards from your sideboard into your deck while keeping your deck like a really consistent Green Sun Zenith deck. So maybe I'll see like a couple Thoughtseize. You're definitely going to see these Force of Vigors, probably the Endurances, maybe a Thoughtseize or 2. Just shave on like the cards that are a little bit less necessary in his deck.
There are some other silver bullets. We've got stuff like Deafening Silence, Surgical Extraction. Not really expecting to see that sort of thing. Collector Oof, not doing anything in this matchup. Gaddock Teague?
Yeah, Teague, another interesting one, right? Being able to shut off Leyline Binding, Force of Will, stuff like that.
Though, right?
No, well, because you've got swords. Actually, the fact that it answers Prismatic Ending might mean it does enough, right? Because the only real answer to a resolved Gaddock Teague, we don't know.
Oh, of course. Yeah, you can't cast Prismatic Ending even for less. Yeah, because Gaddock Teague just turns off X spells. So the only answer you've got is the swords.
Yeah, so Jaren doesn't exactly know Ryan's exact 75 per se, but he could surmise that it would be kind of hard to answer if not for something like Swords to Plowshares. So very interesting.
Well, there's the Thoughtseize. We talked about that coming in, and certainly at least one copy has come in from Jaren. I like that, especially on the play there. You're able to be proactive, look at your opponent's hand, pick apart what they're doing, try to get onto the battlefield while fighting through their disruption. But unfortunately for Jaren, Ryan's got a great hand here.
Yeah, he's just kind of loaded up with tons of good spells. I mean, that's kind of the thing about Thoughtseize in this matchup. Like, it is good, don't get me wrong, but you're never going to be able to take Ryan off of like all of these fantastic cards in his hand. Like we see, Jaren had to take a Leyline Binding, and Ryan's just chock full of cantrips. He's going to be able to find more removal this game and do more stuff. So it's good. That's exactly what you want to see if you're Jaren, and also he's got to be a little bit worried. Like, man, Ryan's hand's just going to become something really scary and hard to beat.
Happy with those 3, Ryan is. I saw a Hydroblast amongst them there, which... Hydroblast?
Yeah, I think I did too. Maybe he just had a kind of a wonky read on the deck. Wasn't exactly sure what was in Jaren's deck.
But do you often see red cards in depth decks?
I don't know. Maybe he's used to some Jund deaths. I honestly couldn't tell you. Maybe it's his counter to the Pyroblast that he suspected Jaren brought in. It's just there's levels to this. It pitches to Force of Will. It's that's kind of when you bring in a card and you're playing a Legacy deck, right? And it's kind of shaky. You don't know if it's too good in the matchup, but it's just a blue card.
Yeah.
It's just always pitches to Force. Like it's fine. It's defensible no matter what card it is. It's fine.
And that's why you put bad cards in your deck. So you can exile them to Force of Will. So you can discard them to Mind Rot.
Exactly.
Elvish Reclaimer here. That's the pickup after we saw a Green Sun Zenith. Interesting card. Do you know something interesting about Green Sun Zenith, Noah? It is one of the very few cards that has ever been printed that instructs you to shuffle your library twice as part of it resolving.
That is interesting, I guess.
You have to shuffle. I don't think you're as interested in this little fact as I was hoping you would be. It feels like this fact was not sufficiently interesting.
I
Didn't get the
mean,
Noah Walker tick of interested
oh,
approval.
I mean, just kidding. It sounds fantastic. Yeah, I think they kind of messed up, right, with the wording. They just wrote shuffle a bunch of times for fun.
No, it's because you search for the creature and then you shuffle, and then you have to shuffle Brainstorm Zenith into your
Oh,
library.
oh, you're right. You're right. So it's just the Zenith clause
Yeah, now he's
that
interested.
really that
Now
really
he's
got
getting. I
it.
can see now. Now he's getting more
Yeah,
interested in this little fact that I brought to
yeah.
battle
It's not
for him.
bad. It's not bad.
Oh, I'm
I
glad I redeemed myself.
I like the Mind Sticker Goblin knowledge the best.
Oh yeah, and that of course, as a professional seasoned Magic broadcasting expert, I just knew that. I
Yeah.
definitely no, I can tell you now, I did not look that up, 15 minutes before we went to air.
Oh, I know. Trust me,
I
I
just
know.
knew. Yeah,
That's
I just knew
that's
that.
the type of knowledge you can't even find on the internet these days.
No, that's it. MTG Wiki, trawling through the comprehensive list of all the rules and stickers and stuff they've got. Shout out
Yeah.
MTG Wiki. All right, Jaren here with a wasteland to get rid of that underground sea and a dark depths from him as well here. Lorian revealed that's being cycled away by the look of things. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Jaren put any counters on this Abzan or so on this Dark Depths. So it's hard to tell for me if it is Dark Depths, but it does look like a Dark Depths from here. So maybe he's just decided, hey, like this doesn't need any counters. Like I'm gonna turn it into a 2020 soon anyways.
Yeah. We all know it goes from having 20 counters to having 0.
Yeah,
We're not gonna
exactly.
be stopping in at any of
He's
the
like, it's
whole positive
fine.
integers in between. And Lorian revealed going in getting another underground sea after the first one was wastelanded, and we're getting up the beanstalk.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what Ryan wants to see. No real early pressure from Jaren, so he can kind of just play his game the way that he wants to, refuel, resolving up the beanstalk.
Jaren hitting his land drops at least. But he doesn't look too happy with the situation.
I mean, I
Well, you
can't
can
blame
see.
him.
Yeah.
I can't. See,
Okay.
he's got another Thoughtseize, but that's all he's got, and he's kind of feeling like I don't even know. Like that's the thing. Look at Ryan's hand. You Thoughtseize him. What do you even take? You take one of the three brainstorms. Like sure.
Oh,
Like
dude, Jaren's flooding out so hard and didn't even activate the dark depths there. Although maybe at this point we are missing
oh.
something. Maybe the counters aren't on it. But if the counters aren't on it, then you sacrifice it straight away. It's like a safe
Exactly,
first action or
exactly.
something.
I think he just forgot to put the dice on it, and he thinks realistically in his mind, like if I activate it, if I pay 3 mana 10 turns in a row to remove counters from my Dark Depths, my opponent is bound to have one of their more than 10 answers to my 2020.
Cool.
So I think he's
Yeah.
just kind of given up on the even use it the slow way. It's either fast way or nothing.
And the other thing to remember is dark depths doesn't tap for mana. It just sits there. It doesn't actually. It's you can't. So Jaren here has access to 4 mana, not 5. Another
Yeah,
up the beanstalk.
got a Forcible in hand. He's like, at this point, Ryan's just begging Jaren to play a spell just so that he can
Yeah.
play Forcible to draw 2 cards. He's like, just bring it on.
God, I got this stupid Hydro Blast I need to get rid of.
Yeah, yeah,
Just can't
exactly.
play
He's like,
anything, man.
it's been turns.
Yeah. Are we gonna see it? We're gonna see Force of Will pitching Hydro Blast here. I bet. Let's go. The Bowmaster's in hand as well.
I could just see, like, if I'm Ryan, I'm kind of looking at my hand. I'm like, yeah, I could Force of Will, pitch, draw 2 cards. I don't mind just casting one of these brainstorms. Oh wait, I guess he cast
Oh,
a brainstorm, got rid of a brainstorm, so it actually ended up having one of the brainstorms left. So I guess this makes a little bit more sense. He wants to keep the Force of Will.
but
Have some
this is one
regards.
of those thought seizes where you kind of wish you hadn't cast it because it's just all business. You're looking at it, it's like, oh, I didn't need to know this. I didn't
Yeah.
need to know that I was up against this man. I want to go back to 5 minutes ago where I thought maybe I had a chance. Brainstorm the pick here for Jaren.
Oh, I'm
Leaving
surprised.
just oh, here's the teague. We're getting teagued up. Let's go.
See, but he didn't take the Force of Will. So if you're Ryan, you can just Force of Will, get rid of your Uro, draw 2 cards. I'm just really surprised. Like I understand where Jaren's coming from. If the Gaddock resolves, then Force of Will is not a possibility. But you're kind of forcing Ryan to use the Force of Will, and he just gets to replace it with 2 cards, as opposed to, if he had Thoughtseized away the Force of Will, played the Gaddock Teeg, like I was saying before, Ryan's deck doesn't have too many answers to resolve Gaddock Teeg. That might have been only one of his only ways out of the water. But on the other side, Jaren basically just got rid of the Uro, which was one of the biggest problems for him, by forcing Ryan to use that Force of Will, right? Like if Ryan had just been like, sure, I don't care, play my Uro this following turn, bring it back the turn after, I don't think that Jaren would have been in a too good of a spot either. So
I think obviously the real problem here is those up the beanstalks, right? Because that play for Jaren would have actually been quite fine, right? Like you Thoughtseize, get rid of the Brainstorm, you play the T, get rid of 2 other cards, and now Ryan's sitting on 2 Orcish Bowmasters, and that's a problem that you can deal with, right? But because of the up the beanstalk, not only replacing the Force of Will, but also replacing the Uro that was exiled for it, that's why Jaren is still well and truly on the back foot here.
Exactly, yeah. It was kind of a free Force of Will to cast.
Free in terms of mana and cards, which is not traditionally the way that well-balanced and functional Magic cards are designed.
No, just 0 cost counterspell, pitch a card, draw 2, not bad.
Yeah, little kind of faithless looting, by the way, counter a spell.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not too bad. All right, here's another Bowmasters. And now Ryan, I think,
Force of
looking to
Will.
apply some pressure. Is that a Force of Will? We've got a
That's
hard
not
cast
good.
Force of Will on the table here.
It's so rare that you just see the card Force of Will and think, oh yeah, I'm just going to cast this. Oh, draw 2 cards. Like that's truly filthy.
I don't think is there any other counterspell that draws you 2 cards?
I mean, we've got Dismiss. The Force of Will is making Dismiss look bad out here.
Yeah, and that's saying something, man.
Yeah.
That is saying something.
Yeah.
I guess Arcane Denial makes your opponent draw 2 cards. But,
True.
so yeah, Arcane Denial will target me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, target me with the draw.
Every spell that Ryan casts that costs more than 4.
All right. We've got a Swords in hand, a Force in hand. Here's an Elvish Reclaimer. What does Ryan do about this one? Just let it resolve, Swords it, sit there, ignore it. He's on 18.
I mean, I would Force of Will, but that's just because I want to draw 2 cards, and I just want to see,
yeah,
like
baby,
this
let's go.
Get used as many times as possible, and also, your dream is about to come true, Riley. It's finally time. It's finally time.
Let's go, Lorien revealed draw.
I think Ryan might have too many cards in his hand if he does that, but yeah, I actually like casting the Force of Will for a couple reasons. One of the only ways that Ryan could actually lose this game is to a Merit Leash 2020 happening, and Jaren could possibly do that without having to cast any spells. So he just wants to keep as many of these sorts of Plowshares effects in his hand.
True, yeah. He had the other swords. He's drawn another binding now, so he's got plenty of answers for Merit Large if she comes down. But the Bowmasters are chipping away. Jaren on 5. Looks like he's going to commit something here. It's a Green Suns for 3.
Oh man, Ryan didn't even cast the Yorion Revealed. Coward. He's like, I got too many cards in hand. I don't need to draw 5.
An embarrassment of riches here for Ryan.
This is just...
Goes and gets Knight of the Reliquary, which is going to be big-ish. There's a couple of fetches in Jaren's graveyard and a forest to follow things up. And we've got Thespian Stage, Thespian Stage Dark Depths assembled for Jaren here.
One really cool play you can do here, if you're Ryan, is cast the Prismatic Ending with X's 4 just to draw 2 cards.
True.
On the Knight of the Reliquary.
Yeah. Technically, Noah, X would actually be 3. On an
True.
Before.
But with pay 5 mana, X is 3. But yeah, you're totally right.
No,
spend. Well, but he could just. It's just about spending. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Get the mana value of it up to 5. But exactly. Now with the Volk, all those options are on the table here for Ryan, and it is interesting seeing the way that a control deck works in Legacy, right? Because we think of control decks typically in younger formats, no creatures, all counterspell, all removal, sweepers, blah blah blah. But here, Ryan's able to put on pretty effective pressure while also disrupting the opponent. And it's just the way that Legacy decks are, right? Like, you have to be lean, you have to be low to the ground, you have to be able to apply effective pressure. You can't just sit there and wait. This isn't a Sphinx's Revelation format.
Yeah, exactly. And up the beanstalk, kind of letting the deck do both things. Turning all of your spells that normally wouldn't be necessarily advantageous for you into some nice 2-for-1s. So making the clunky aspects of these 4-color control decks look much more lean, which is really, really interesting.
Yep. The power of the beans.
I mean, at this point, Ryan's just got basically anything he could ask for once again.
Yeah. And a brainstorm here.
So is that land not a Dark Depths? Because I feel like Jaren has just had Dark Depths Thespian Station in play for turns now. And
Yes.
is he just that scared that Ryan has this sorts of pushers?
Look, I don't know. I'm pretty certain it is a Dark Depths. I don't know of any other legendary colorless lands that might be played in the deck. Maze of Ith is not legendary, so because you can see it's got the little legend border along the top of it. So it's not a Maze of Ith. Caracas is white, so it's not white. It's got a colorless border. So unless I'm missing something, which is certainly possible.
Okay, no, it was.
And we're going to see the game wrap up here because Ryan had all the answers up the beanstalk, too powerful, and as a result, improves his record to 5-1. So well done to him. The 4-color control deck really showing us what it's capable of and showing us this brave new future that we live in now with Up the Beanstalk. Still doing work in Legacy. It's just as powerful as it is in other formats, and I think it's a card that we'll have to keep an eye on, Noah, because looks to offer a huge amount of value to people playing stuff like Force, Leyland Binding, whatever else.
Yeah, I mean, there's no coincidence that the card was just banned from a format. Like, Up the Beanstalk is incredibly powerful, and just really showcasing that here in Legacy. Only having 10 spells that can even trigger it, and that being more than enough for it to be the new staple card advantage spell in all of these control decks. So really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, the fact that it replaces itself just means that the floor on it is so high, right? Like, the worst case scenario is it cycles, and that isn't great, but it's not terrible. It's never a dead card. So we'll keep an eye on this. We'll keep an eye on plenty of other stuff as well as we continue our coverage of Eternal Weekend here. It's great to have your company. I believe we're going to take a quick break now and get set up for our next round. So don't go anywhere. We'll have more Legacy coming your way before very much longer.